Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Today is another Sims speed build, however, this one's a little bit different than the builds I have done before because I'm actually building this for a gameplay purpose. When I normally build in The Sims, I always focus on the storytelling aspect, so even if I'm not playing in it, I will make up a fake family and a fake story, and their houses will look very lived in. But because I'm building this for a purpose, it's a little bit different, it's a lot less lived in, which I actually found quite challenging. Now, before I tell you more about the challenge I'm actually going to be playing, I want to talk to you about the build I'm doing. So you might be looking at this house and being like, Rain, what the hell is this structure? And I will say it does come together, so just bear with, but it is a Tudor style villa that obviously I had to build in the world of Windenburg. I say villa, but it is kind of designed a little bit like a hotel, also a little bit like an Airbnb. You'll see when we get into it, but essentially the whole purpose of this villa is for filming TV shows. I will tell you more about the challenge, but I just want to give myself an honorable mention because of the roofing that I did. As you can see, I am struggling so much with this roof at the moment because the house is actually 3 stories, but it's made to look like 2 stories with people living in the attic rooms. Which, if you've tried to do roofing in The Sims, it is so freaking difficult. But when I tell you, I persevered. Normally, I will stay well away from doing these jut outs and complex building styles. I will just make a square because I do not know how to do roofs. But today I was like, you know what, this is needed for the build. The only thing that I couldn't figure out how to properly do is where it's glass and it's made of 2 separate roof parts. I don't know if that's just a problem with The Sims or if there's actually a way around that. So if you do know how to do that, please let me know in the comments. I do want to point out though that I've done a lot of things like what I'm doing here where I manipulate the little bits of roof to make sure that every single piece of roof looks perfect. Like you have no overlapping edges, and then around the base all of the edges of the roof line up, and I'm so happy with how it's turned out. Now onto the actual design of the building. Again, I've paid attention to detail a lot more here than I would normally. As you can see, I've taken this like Tudor style paneling, but I haven't just taken one swatch of it. I've taken 3 different swatches so I can add the details. I did change it all to like the darker color, which I think looks so much better and it matches the windows better. I was a bit worried about it being too dark, but when you add all the plants and everything, it looks perfect, don't worry. I didn't want it all to be this paneling because I thought that would be way too much, so I had a look on Pinterest at different Tudor style houses. I saw a lot of them had their ground floor being made of rocks, but it wasn't like brick, it's like rocks but bricks. You know what I mean, literally like how it's done here. Reminds me of a lot of cottages that I visited in Wales, but I think it's so cute. And this is where it's starting to look a lot more like a cottage hotel than just a house. I also spent a very long time picking out all these windows that are different, but they go together so well, and I'm really happy with the way it's turned out. Anyway, I think it's about time I tell you more about this challenge. So I'm doing a gameplay challenge on my stream, and it's going to be the Bachelor/Bachelorette challenge. Now, if like me, you have not heard about this challenge, essentially you're doing a series of the Bachelor or Bachelorette. I'm doing the Bachelorette. So for the Bachelorette challenge, you take a household of 8 Sims. One of them is your Bachelorette and the other 7 are your bachelors. You only control your Bachelorette, and then I don't know if it says this in the description of the challenge, but I'm locking them in so they can't go to work or they can't have too much free will. They are stuck on this lot. I play as the Bachelorette and I will interact with the different bachelors, get to know them, and every 3 days chat will vote off who they like the least. Now in the actual challenge, I think you're just supposed to evict them. We are going to drown them in the pool. That is going to be a little bit different. Another twist that I'm going to do is chat can actually create the bachelors. So I'm going to be doing this stream on my Twitch channel next Friday, and we're going to start off by actually making the 7 bachelors, and my chat will get to decide who they are, whether that be a famous person or even themselves. So if you want to be part of that, follow me on Twitch, it's rain_x. Right, back to talking about the build. So I'm just finishing up the pool room conservatory thing. This is an extension, but I want to imagine that the house is kind of like protected. I have no idea what the laws are called, but we have like this history thing in the UK, probably in other countries as well. like different buildings and lands are like protected by like history preserve. So it stops you from building up, it stops you from, you know, changing the building to be like make it look different than what it was originally intended. So that's how I imagine the rules are for this house. So they've added the pool as an extension, but they've had to keep it brown and like short so it still blends in with the original building. I think I've done okay. Like you can tell like this is not a Tudor style pool, but I think it looks good enough. Now just to tie the whole building together, I'm adding this little patio section which will then go down onto the grass area. I'm just adding in the doors, again keeping with the theme. Everything's brown and it's all like matching non-matching, which I actually love. I'm so happy with myself. I then move the whole building back into where it's going to be sat and start doing the landscaping. I want this to feel fully enclosed and away from the road, and this is exactly how they would be in real life, these big Tudor mansions, I suppose. I mean, it is 8 bedrooms, so I guess that makes it a mansion. I've used a lot of debug items because they're free, and also they come in a lot of different sizes. Around the back, we've got the kind of foresty area. I imagine in real life this would extend further past the lot boundaries. But at the front, I imagine that these trees have been strategically placed to create like a noise barrier. You see that a lot in fancy buildings, at least in the UK, because our roads are very close to the buildings. You will have like tall hedges or these tall trees at the very front of the property, and it just protects the view, and it also protects the people living in the house from the noise of the traffic. As part of this, I did try and raise up the ground around the front and the back just to make the house a little bit more sunken in without sinking the house in. In hindsight, maybe it would have been easier to just sink the house in, but I wanted it to feel like more enclosed. Usually my builds are really detailed inside the house, and that's because of the storytelling aspect. I usually make the houses look lived in, so I will have clutter and mess lying around everywhere. Whereas for this house, it's essentially a hotel, so it's going to be kept clean. I have added some bits of clutter, which you'll see when we get onto the interior. But overall, the house is clean, the house is tidy, and I felt lazy doing that because it felt like I wasn't doing the cluttering up, the difficult part to make it look realistic that I was usually doing. But if I did that, it wouldn't look realistic. It wouldn't work for the story that we are telling. And that is why I have gone heavy on the clutter outside. I know foliage is not really clutter, but as you can see, like I am painting the terrain, I'm making it look really real as possible. Now, it would be better, but I don't know if anyone has noticed, after the most recent update, the update where we got the ghosts, the tool mod no longer works. I don't know if I have to go and re-download the tool mod or if this is just going to fix itself, but tool mod works, the game doesn't work. After the update, the mods have now broken my game. And trying to do all of this foliage without tool mod was so difficult. If you don't use tool mod, go and have a look. I'll link it in the description. It's amazing. It means you can raise and lower things and scale things, rotate things. You can do like all the manipulation, but to a very precise degree that you can't normally do. I know you can raise and lower items with 9 and 0, and you can scale things with, I think it's the square brackets. I always do it automatically, but now actually thinking about it, I'm pretty sure it's square brackets, but there is only a certain degree of precision that you can do that with. So that was a nightmare to work around, especially because I have raised the terrain. When you raise and lower items, you can only lower them to a certain point. However, with tool mod, you can lower them into the ground. So if you look closely, some of the foliage isn't actually touching the ground because it's part on a slope, which is really annoying. But usually I would be using tool mod, everything would be super precise. It was just broken. Now, I know I have just yapped over all of the landscaping, but it's just landscaping. I have condensed this so much. This took me hours and hours. I could not figure out how I wanted to do the landscaping. That little section that you just saw with the little seating area, I spent about 2 hours just on that because I was trying to make it into like a little front garden. No, it looked awful. I just couldn't find like proper grass or anything like that. So I went back and forth and then just settled on a bench. I've added some lights from the debug menu. I think they are adorable. Again, if I had the tool mod, they would have been better because I would have been able to scale the lights a lot better. I also run into this problem on the patio because I want the hanging fairy lights, but they are just the wrong size. Anyway, given that this is a hotel, I've added a car park. I've made it a gravel car park, which I think is very common with these sort of hotels. And I've added the fanciest cars I could find from the debug menu and a limo. I think the limo is where the Bachelorette would drive in on. Now the basics of this hotel villa are done. We are finally getting on to the bits we need for it to be the bachelor/bachelorette house. And that's the items that these people can use. I wanted to create like loads of different kind of activities so we can have a bunch of different personalities that the Bachelorette can meet and, you know, do loads of different types of things with. So that's why at the front I've got the basketball court, and then at the back we've got the romantic hot tub, which is amongst all of the trees with the fairy lights on. I think it's so cute. And then on the back patio I've made like a sunken talking pit, very inspired by Love Island. I don't really watch Love Island, but I'm pretty sure they have a sunken talking pit with the big benches. I didn't want chairs. Originally I had that coffee table, which is kind of like a fire pit coffee table. I don't know, it's under misc lighting, so I imagine it's fire, right? But I had that with some seats next to it, but they were all the individual seats. I wanted somewhere where they can sit and cuddle and, you know, create these romantic interests. For the interior of this build, I wanted to keep it very old-fashioned, very like how you would expect the Tudor houses to look, almost like it was a stately home. I imagine that it's like the British Bachelorette. I don't even know if that's a thing, but to me British is old-fashioned, Tudory, and if they're filming a TV show here they would want it to look old-fashioned and how the Tudor home was, which is why I didn't do up the inside. It also ties in with the fact that I said that this building would be semi-preserved so that they can't really change the original features such as the paneling. Now, call me lazy, but all of the floor is herringbone. I think that is the peak of old style interior design. So every single room had to have this, except for the bathrooms, obviously. But I do be more creative with the bathrooms because I thought if I'm going to be lazy with the rest of the house, I should at least be creative with the bathroom. I haven't told you much about the interior of this building. So the layout is, it's 3 floors. On the ground floor you have the shared kitchen space, which I imagine they hire a chef for while they're staying there, but also this could be used as a very luxurious Airbnb. It's not a restaurant, it's a kitchen with a dining space. So technically self-catered, but for the purpose of the Bachelorette theme, I am going to hire a chef. We then have the library room, which has got books, an art easel, a chess set, and a bonsai kit. I want every bachelor to have plenty of stuff to play with. I don't want any technology. They can go on their phones, obviously, but I don't want any computers or any games consoles, stuff like that. I want it to be more about communication and arts and stuff that is interesting to watch rather than just watching them sit on a computer game. We also have across the way, which I will get to, is the bar area, and then we have the diary room. On the second floor is the Bachelorette's bedroom and 4 of the bachelor's bedrooms, and then on the top floor is 3 more bachelor bedrooms and the laundry room, which would be for the maid. There is one shared bathroom, which is technically the shower room from the pool, and then each bedroom has an ensuite. So I'm just adding the finishing touches to the library room without cluttering up too much because I don't want it to look messy. I want it to look like it's been kept clean, but there are plenty of things to do and it's actually realistic. Starting on the bar area now, this is the tiniest little bar that I've ever made. I will hire a mixologist for the gameplay of the challenge, and this will be their more social space. The library is still a social space, but I think this just offers a little bit more, having the foosball table, the darts, the singing, the guitar, like it's just a little bit more social. I have kind of cut it out because the recording of it was very messy and back and forth, but I have actually changed up the back bar area to have a shelf of alcohol and then a table with the olives and different toppings. Obviously we've got the mini fridge there for the fresh juices and everything, but the actual alcohol shelf I put in later, and you'll have to wait for the screenshots because I actually edit that right at the end, but it is included in the screenshots. moving away from the communal areas purely because I was scared. I was scared to do the kitchen, I was scared to do the diary room, so I thought I'll do something I know, and that's the bathrooms. I am only really going to show you the Bachelorette bathroom, which is the bigger bathroom, because all the other bathrooms end up being the same. I have included the flooring. I thought it was just a fun little hotel quirk. Personally, I don't think these floors are very nice, but given the size of the bathrooms and the fact it's in a hotel slash Airbnb, I thought it was fun just to have the different coloured bathrooms. The walls are all the same type, but in different swatches, same with the floors. So in the Bachelorette's bathroom, she has a bath, everyone else has only a shower, but I've given them nice toilet, a nice sink, a nice mirror, a robe. The Bachelorette has a pink one and the Bachelors have a blue one. And I've just made it as nice as possible, but at the end of the day, it is a simple bathroom. There's not much you can do with bathrooms. I just finish off the Bachelorette's bathroom with a little bit of clutter, including this cast iron radiator, which actually fits perfectly with the theme of this build. Usually I'm like so outdated, but that is what I want for this build. So the Bachelorette's bedroom would also be the honeymoon suite of this hotel, because I imagine that it isn't always used for the TV show The Bachelorette. Like, it's gonna have multi-uses. So yes, this is the honeymoon suite. I try and make it built for couples, so there's enough room for two. Everything is done twice. I add in the suitcases because they're like the Bachelorette's suitcases, and then I'm just thinking, what would a hotel have? You've got the coat hook, which I thought needed some seating, so I added an ottoman so you can sit on the ottoman and just pop your shoes on. And then I just added some lighting, really keeping with the old-fashioned theme. I used a chandelier, which is really, really cute, but I never really get to use it. The final thing that I actually needed for the Bachelorette's room was a vanity for her to get ready. Now, there aren't really many options. There's only one vanity that has a mirror on it, and you can't even sit at that one. So I just used a desk and I clutter it up, but I made the clutter look absolutely perfect. Like, it's been put there by the media team. It's not what she's brought in. Like, she hasn't actually got there yet. Her suitcases haven't been unpacked because I haven't started the series yet. So I've put everything on her desk and it's on the trays, and there's also a surprise present waiting for her. You can't see it on the recording, but I have popped like a folded up towel on her bed and some soaps and stuff like that. Unfortunately for the Bachelors, they are not the stars of this show, so they do not get the luxury treatment that I just gave to the Bachelorette. They get a smaller room. It's still big enough for two. It is a double bed, but it is a smaller room, a smaller bathroom. They have all the same amenities, but not as nice. So we've got the wardrobe, we've got the coat hook, the ottoman. I've also added a chest of drawers, the bedside tables, and then I forgot, but every single hotel room needs a cook chair. And if you don't know what a cook chair is, don't Google it. You know, there's just that chair in the hotel room. It needs one. So I do go back and add a chair in all of these rooms, and you'll see it in the screenshots. But yeah, these rooms are a little bit more manly, and I'm just kind of demonstrating that I replicate every single piece of furniture. I do change up little things, like if the windows are different, I've got different curtains, and there are slightly different pictures in different rooms, but overall the other 7 rooms are pretty much the same. I've included all of the rooms in the screenshots, but I edited out me building them from the footage because it's just so repetitive. They're all the same, just a little bit different. Now I'm finally tackling downstairs, adding in the lighting and some plants and some decorations just to make it feel like really quite luxurious. I think when a hotel has plants that are like well kept and then just like loads of pictures, you're like, this is bougie. So the pictures are very historical, and I imagine that they depict the history of this house. Don't ask me why there's a boat, because like we're nowhere near the sea, but I still picture that as part of the history. I really wanted to add some rugs to be runners, but just none of them were the right sizes, and as I said earlier, I did not have access to the tool mod. And then I remembered that carpets existed, and I added some carpets just to act as carpet runners. Now, I am conscious that I've been calling this a hotel and there is no reception desk. Please don't come at me, but I have added little mailboxes in the back hallway for each of the rooms. There's 8. If you really wanted to, you could make this into a rental property. I've finally braved it and I have made the kitchen. This kitchen is a lot more modern than the rest of the house. I assume this has been redone because a Tudor style kitchen would no longer be suitable for modern day. So that's why the walls are slightly different, even though they still fit the dark theme. They are a lot more modern. The floor is still the same, and then the counters are definitely a lot more modern. I'm actually really happy with how the kitchen turned out because I was so nervous going into it. I knew I wanted the breakfast bar. There are only 4 chairs, but then in the dining section I do have a table with 8 seats, so that is plenty for everyone. Now, I haven't cluttered up this kitchen much because I don't want it to be messy. I want it to be kept clean, but I have added things that I think will be interesting for the gameplay, like an ice cream machine. I've actually never used the ice cream machine. It's from the Cool Kitchen stuff. I think we got it free at some point. And then I've also added a vending machine because I imagine that the chef will prepare set meals, but then people who stay in at the house, they can go and get snacks whenever they please. Another thing that I would have done if I had access to tool mod is put that tea towel on the oven rather than on the island counter. And that's just because every time I tried to put it on the oven, it kept clipping to the wall behind it. This room can easily be changed out, but I've set it up as the diary room. So I had that chair with a mic. I thought it was missing something. So I took the photography studio and scaled it down and it just looks perfect. There's nothing else in this room. It's very plain, very simple, but it's literally just for the Bachelorette to come in and sit down and talk about who she fancies. Now, I did mention at the very start of the video that I'm doing the Bachelorette challenge a little bit differently, where instead of voting off the people we don't want, we're gonna kill them. So I think we're gonna drown them in the pool. That's kind of why I added the pool, to be honest. And I thought, you know what would be fun? A little graveyard. So we've got 6 graves prepared. I did try and raise up the terrain to make it look like a lump over the grave. It didn't quite work, but you can still tell there's a little graveyard. I've added a little fence. You go in, pay your respects. We've got the shrine and everything. And yeah, that's where we're going to put the urns. I've just connected the path to the main patio so that they've got somewhere to walk. And then I'm finally on the last room of this building, which is the tiny little laundry room at the very, very top of the house. This isn't for the guests to use, this is for the housekeeper to use, so it is a little bit messier. But we've got 2 washers and 2 dryers. And then I made this kind of double laundry basket for the darks and lights, which is why they're different colours. Thought it looked pretty cool. And with that, my Tudor villa for the Bachelorette gameplay challenge is complete. I'm going to leave you with the screenshots now, but I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe and comment. And if you are interested in being involved in the challenge, make sure you follow me on Twitch, that's rain_x. And tune in next Friday at 7 PM GMT. I'm really, really excited for this challenge and I'm really happy with how this build turned out. If you'd like to download this build, it is on the gallery. My gallery ID is TTV rain_x. I will put the build details in the description, so check that out. And I'll see you next time for another Sims build.